It was a little chilly that morning, but a little sunlight was streaming in through my kitchen window. I got up as usual, made tea, and prepared Brian's favorite toast, a little burnt, but he liked it that way. I looked at the calendar. It was Saturday, which means Ashley was supposed to come today. My younger sister, my closest friend. Even after marriage, her visits to our house were the same as when we both lived in the same room in our childhood. I kept coffee for her too. She must be coming. Brian came out of the room, hair disheveled, eyes sleepy. I smiled and asked, "Haven't you woken up yet?" He murmured something, then said, "There are some papers from the office. Sign them later, okay?" I nodded, okay, like I do every time. Ashley came over. She hugged me, like every time, but this time there was something strange. Her hug didn't feel as warm. I thought maybe I was overthinking it. When the three of us were having dinner together, Brian and Ashley were laughing a lot. I even interrupted, "What's the matter? Was there some joke I didn't understand?" Ashley laughed and said, "No, just like that. You are very serious." I smiled, but there was a slight prick in my heart. The next day Brian came with the papers, the same ones he had mentioned. I was busy at work, doing laundry, on a phone call. I signed without reading. "Has this ever happened if you ask me not to sign?" He smiled, but when I remember that smile now, it seems scary. I didn't know, that day I had given the ownership of my own house to my sister, and at that very moment the biggest betrayal of my life had started. That afternoon, I returned home early from my office. I was very tired, so I sat near the kitchen window, drinking coffee. There was a strange silence in the house, like it happens before a storm. I noticed that Brian's phone was lying on the dining table, and there was a text on it, "Don't worry baby, Sab perfect ho Gaia." She signed it. I saw Ashley's name on the mobile, and my hand started shaking. For a moment I felt that maybe there was a mistake, maybe someone else might have sent Ashley, but the voice of my heart was saying, "No, it is her. My sister." I put the phone back, as if I had seen nothing. But something inside me had broken. I felt the silence of the entire house again, and now this silence seemed scary. When Brian came over at night, I didn't ask him anything. I just kept looking into his eyes, and for the first time, he started avoiding my eyes. For the next 2 weeks I didn't say anything. I kept smiling, cooking, talking to Ashley every day, but watching everything, her every move, every conversation, every fake joke. Then one morning a letter arrived at home, a legal notice. It said the property was now in Ashley's name, and I had to vacate the house within 30 days. I read that letter, and my breathing stopped. I asked Brian, "What is this?" He became extremely irritated. "You signed it yourself. Don't do too much drama now. You are just a guest here for a few days." I said, "And Ashley?" He said, "She is now the real owner of this house. What did you think, everything would always be yours?" Her voice, the smile on her face, and that strangeness, everything seemed like poison to me. I tried not to let tears come out of my eyes, but my cheeks got wet. Ashley came in front of me and said, "Sorry, but I also wanted something in this life. You have always been ahead, now it's my turn." I saw her face, the same face with which I had fought in my childhood, hugged her, loved her more than myself, and today she was standing beside me as if she were a stranger. I didn't say anything. Just picked up my small bag, and left the house. I didn't know where I would go next, but I knew this, I was broken, but not finished. That evening, I was sitting on an old bench by the roadside. I had only a small bag with me, some clothes, an old phone, and my wedding album. I didn't dare open the album, but it was in the bag, like a memory sitting with a pain in my heart. I called a friend, Sarah. We were in college together, and she always said, if anything bad ever happens, call me first. I asked in a trembling voice, can I stay at your place for a few days? Without wasting a second she said, are you crazy? That is your house. Come now. I burst into tears as soon as Sarah reached home. She hugged me, fed me, and put me to bed. That night, for the first time, I let my tears cry openly. Till now everything was suffocating inside. The next morning Sarah placed coffee in front of me and said, you decide what to do now. But understand one thing, you are not weak. You have to fight and win. There was confidence in his eyes, and that made me believe in myself again. The first thing I did was to meet a lawyer. Collected all the documents, gathered evidence, text messages, call records, letters, everything. The lawyer said, this case will not be easy, but you are not alone. For the first time I felt, maybe my rights are still alive. Meanwhile, I started working at a small job, at a local cafe. I would wash cups, sweep floors, and prepare case files with Sarah at night. There was fatigue every day, but now there was hope in that fatigue. One day an old woman came into the cafe, cup trembling in hand, very tired. I sat her down on a chair, smiled and asked, can I get something else? She smiled and said, your smile gives great relief. You should be somewhere else, not here. My eyes filled with tears after listening to him. Maybe he didn't know it, but he gave me the courage that many people couldn't give. Slowly I started putting myself back together, like someone trying to gather broken bangles and wear them again. I picked up my old designing skills and started posting work on Fiverr. When I got my first client, I looked at myself in the mirror and said, you are not a loser. Now I had become used to walking alone. Sarah was still with me, but I knew, I have to fight this battle, and I have to win it. I slowly started getting work on Fiverr. Small designing projects, some logos, some social media creatives. I made each project as if I was redesigning my life. One day a client said to me on video call, you have an eye for art. Ever thought of starting your own design brand? That question kept echoing in my mind, and that very night I opened my notebook, and wrote at the top, Restart Studio, by Eliza. Yes, now I was Eliza, not just a wife or sister, I had my own identity. The next hearing of the legal case was near. The lawyer said, your side is strong. But they will have the last say, be prepared. I remained silent, but there was a fire inside. Now is the time to be afraid. On the day of the hearing, I was standing outside the court in a simple dress, but with my head held high. In front of me were Brian and Ashley, the same pride on their faces, the same fake smile. The judge heard both sides. I kept the evidence, texts, calls, land papers and the report of forgery of my documented signature. Ashley had a nervous look in her eyes, and Brian couldn't make eye contact with me for the first time. At the next hearing the judge's decision came. This transfer was fraudulent and forcefully manipulated. The property rightfully belongs to Mrs. Eliza. I closed my eyes, and it was like all the pain went away. Sarah hugged me as I walked out of the court. Got your house back, he said. I smiled, the house was mine from the first day, now only my identity is with me. I went back to that house, but I was no longer the Eliza who lived in someone's shadow. Now the walls of every room contained my labor, my suffering, and my rebirth. Brian and Ashley were now strangers, and I knew, I didn't just win the house, I found myself. That morning I was sitting on the balcony of my house. The same house whose walls once bore witness to my silence, today the sun was shining there, and inside me too. I celebrated myself with my tea for the first time. Restart Studio was no longer just a name, it was my new identity. Sarah created a website with my help, I uploaded all my designs. Orders started coming one by one. Local clients, then some US-based startups, and within a few months I got a big project, a complete branding campaign for a fashion brand. Subject line: we'd love to collaborate with Restart Studio for our next US product launch. That mail was not just an offer for me, it was proof of my victory. I sent my old cafe boss a packet, a handmade logo design and a thank you card. He once made me sweep the broom, but today I sent him a symbol made with my own hands, with humility, but with a new identity. Shortly after, I recorded a video, on my social media. Hi, I'm Eliza. There was once a broken woman, who had lost everything, but today I am the founder of Restart Studio. And this story is not just mine, it is the story of every woman who was ever silenced. That video touched thousands of people. Comments started coming. You gave me hope. I'm going through the same, and now I feel I can survive. You're an inspiration, Eliza. I knew, I was no longer anyone's story, I was an example of myself. I didn't just save my home, I resurrected my soul. Today when I sit in my office, there is an old frame in the corner, a photograph from my wedding album. I smile when I look at her, because that girl is still in me, but now she is not scared, she is strong. I was a broken wall, but now on the same wall I have built the gallery of my dreams. This was my story. Eliza's story. Once upon a time I was a helpless woman, and today I am a name.